Hey guys, this is Vernier for cardrunners.com, bringing you episode 7 out of the 10 steps to more mindful poker. We are building good poker study habits, and today we're going to, in episode number 7, we're going to analyze 5 or more hands where you 3-bet ace-king out of position. This is a hand that I think you should be regularly analyzing, and I think this is a hand where a lot of people don't realize that it has reverse implied odds associated with it, which means that when you win a pot, you often don't win a very big pot, but when you lose, you can lose quite a big one. So let me bring up Hold'em Manager and talk about the kind of filters that I'm going to use. So let me bring up the filters here. So the first thing is I want my hand card filter. I will select none. And then I will select my ace-king offsuit and my ace-king suited. Next, I'm going to go to other advanced filters. All in preflop, I want false, simply because I want to look at some post-flop action. Did 3-bet, I want to make that true. And finally, on the flop, I want to select last to act on the flop as false. This means that we're going to be playing this hand out of position. So all in preflop is false, did 3-bet is true, last to act on flop is false, and I will hit OK. So it looks like I've got about 30 hands here, and I'm going to look at some of them. So let me, I'll just start at the top. So ace-king suited here, very good hand. I've got my, I actually know this player, Ivy Jeffrey. He's a friend of mine. I'm not sure what he's doing at this game. Probably looking to outplay me, which he will on this flop. So when it comes down 8-9 jack with 2 diamonds, this is a flop that I will be very seldom. In fact, I almost never continuation bet that flop. If I flop a set of jacks here, I will probably check raise it. And if I flop a diamond draw, I'm going to be check raising it. It's a flop that I'm going to be check folding so often that I want to be able to check raise it as well. But against his range, calling range, he's going to have so many kind of middle to middle high cards that just hit this flop, like Jack 10, Queen 10, Queen Jack, 8-9, 9-10, etc. Is just a disaster flop for me. So especially with the clubs, I'm just going to check. He's going to bet, and I'm going to be folding. So fairly straightforward hand there. Let's take a look at this one. I don't know why I check folded that one. It looks like Stevia raises and end up 3-betting, and he calls. I miss here, but this is a flop that I should be continuation betting. So I check, and he bets, and I fold. Let me take a look at how often he folds to continuation bets. Now, obviously things are different in 3-bet pots, but since my computer crashed, I have not reset my HUD, so I don't see. Well, all right. Bottom line is I should be continuation betting this flop. This is a flop that I would continuation bet with a wide range. So yeah. All right. Next, I have no idea. Looks like I'm just playing some of these hands horribly, which is why it's really good to be able to review this. Is when you, I know that when I'm actually playing in game, especially when I have a problem with playing too many tables. It's inevitably I almost always start playing too many tables, but let's just look at the way this hand plays out. All right, so it's multi-way pot. I am not going to be continuation betting this flop, not against 3 players. So it's very much like if I hit, I will continue. So I check call, and the turn is an ace, and I check again, and now he bets $52. I think that's the thing about this hand is I was just so confused by his line. Basically, I have no idea where I am, and this is a card that should scare him much more than it scares me. Like, my hand very much looks like an ace-king type hand. So anytime someone's betting big on a hand, on a card that should help you, you should proceed with caution. So I think in this spot, I thought, well, I've got $16 invested and he's betting 52 and I'm just really confused and I have no idea where I am. And I will have to, essentially I'm committing $84 on this turn because he has he's got much less than a pot size bet left. So I either go all in here or I fold. So I think I just folded because I was confused as to why he would bet what he's betting. And without a read, I took the lower variance route. Again, anytime someone's betting big on a card that they should be afraid, I proceed with caution. All right, let's look at this ace-king hand. So I 3-bet, I get called. Very good flop for me in terms of the villain's going to proceed with a lot of hands here, and I'm going to be able to get value. So I bet 12 and a 19. There's no reason to bet big. And he calls. And the turn is great because anytime the bottom card pairs, I'm going to be able to continue betting. And I would dislike an 8 a lot more than I dislike a 7. A 7 I like a lot. So I check. I don't like a check here. I think I should just continue betting. And he bets 14 and I check call. And I played that horribly. I played that too passively out of position. This should definitely be a turn bet. So he had a monster on the turn and he played that hand better than me because he had position. So the turn should be a bet for sure. All right. So let me look at, let's see, this hand's not that interesting. I just got it all in on the flop. This hand's pretty interesting, and I'm actually not sure how to play this one out. This is a hand that I would want to look at later. So I 3-bet ace-king, the villain calls, and I c-bet this flop. It's connected, and I don't have too much equity. But low cards like that are much better than high cards. This flop is actually much better for my hand than the 8-9 jack 2 diamonds, even though this has 2 diamonds and does not hit me. I don't like the fact that I don't have any diamonds in my hand, but I think there's merit in c-betting here, especially if the villain's calling pre-flop with hands like Queen 10, Queen Jack, Jack 10, etc. So he calls, gin card for me. I'm going to continue betting, and he calls again, and the river's a 10. It completes the flush, and I check, and he goes all in. This is a spot where if I ended up folding, and I like my fold here, because I think if I call, I'm basically hoping that he had something like pocket 8s and he's turning them into a bluff now, and I just don't know enough about him to do so. I think on the turn, I think I should bet bigger here on the turn. And I want to, basically, I would want to do the math and I would want to see how much should I bet on the turn so that if he has a flush draw, he is not getting the right price to continue. Half pot just doesn't do it. So I'm actually going to, no, I can't bring a poker stove. So yeah, I don't like my turn bet. Intuitively, I think that I should bet bigger on the turn. Based on the way I played it, I like my river check fold. This is just a bad card for me. And if he ended up turning a made hand into a bluff, like if he had pocket eights and decided to shove that in, more power to him to try to get me off ace king. Pocket tens is not at all unlikely. I think he might even play a set the same way. Like if he had 5 nines or 2s, I think he might end up calling the turn as well with the intention of shoving any river. Let's look at this one. So small bet, small raise by a short stacker. I end up 3-betting and he calls. This is too connected for me for his stack size. Let's say I continuation bet like $11 and he shoves. Then I would just fold. But I think against a short stacker like that, I more often than not, I'm just going to be looking to get some kind of a piece of the flop or have a slightly less connected flop. So I ended up checking and he checks back and turn is great. It's a non-straight or flush completing ace, which now I feel very confident about my hand. I bet and he ends up folding. So let's look at one more. So here's another one that the theme of playing too passively on the turn comes up again. So definitely continuation bet this. I can get value from a lot of worse cards. The turn is a king. I think I should continue betting here. This is a spot where the flush gets there, but he's going to have a lot of worse hands that ended up peeling the flop. So I should bet here. It goes check, check on the turn. And at this point, I'm putting him on a weak-ish ace. And or maybe a card, maybe a hand like maybe like jacks. I think queens are less likely. I don't think nines would continue. So I think he has a weaker ace. He might have a 10, or he has a hand like jacks. So on the river, if he has a weaker ace, I bet to try to get value, basically trying to get him to call with a chop. And he ends up shoving here, which points, now it points a lot more to him having a 10. Now, he could certainly be shoving here, trying to represent the 10 and to push me off a chop. But again, from experience, when they do that, more often than not, they'll just have a 10. If he had a weaker, so like I could have a 10 as well. So if he had an ace, I don't think he would turn an ace into I don't think he would try to push me off an ace if he had an ace himself and shove. I think he would just end up calling. I don't think he heads to the river with a pure bluff. And I don't think he would expect me to be at a level where I would fold a hand like ace king. I could certainly still have a hand like, aces full, kings full, or even a 10 myself. I could even have a flush myself and just, check the turn with the intention of check raising. So all that makes me think that he has the 10, and I just ended up folding here. So I definitely like my fold on this one. I do think that from watching all these hands, the way I played them out, I should be much more aggressive on turns in spots where I have it. So that is it for this ace-king hand over here. I'm not going to show. It's just too embarrassing. I cringe just looking at it. That is not a hand that I'm going to go over. I'll just say that I played it horribly, and it's a nice reminder that even players that, like, I consider myself to be fairly disciplined, but we still tilt. So until next time, for cardrunners.com, this has been Vernier. Good luck at the tables, guys.